Good morning, folks. How are you today? Right now, let's bring to the stage Dr. Mulan and Dr. Wallach.
Thank you very much. Well, this morning you're going to get a double treat. I get a lot of credit for things, but Mulan does the work. So what we're going to do is something that she's been laboring on a long time, and it has to do with the H5N1 bird flu. And you notice that the microphones are at two different levels. This presentation has been put together by Dr. Mulan because she really loves you and loves America and want to make sure that we survive.
Today we're going to talk about the bird flu. Bird flu is the pandemic of the 21st century.
We have warnings from the experts, and Health and Human Services Secretary Mike Leavitt is warning us, just like we were warned about Katrina. H5N1 will kill 300 million to 1 billion people worldwide and is going to kill 2 million in the United States. We're being warned, and we can do nothing and be a victim, or we can respond. They expect 60% of the global population will get infected, and somewhere between 300 million and 1 billion people are going to die from this worldwide. 2 million Americans are going to die from it. So this is a serious event. It's not if it's coming, it's only when it's coming. It will come sometime in 2006, either now yet in the spring or certainly in the fall. We're going to do a three-part outline. Number one, Mulan's going to do the history of the bird flu. I'm going to talk about the nature of the H5N1 virus and how to be a victor and not a victim.
We must remember the history, because history might repeat. What happened yesterday might happen again today. Let's talk about the history of the bird flu. First, we're talking about the casualty from the bird flu attacks. On 1918 is the Spanish bird flu. It's caused by H5N1 virus. On states, it killed 500,000 of the population. The worldwide is 50 to 100 million. Very scary. 1957 is called Asian flu. It's caused by H5N1 virus. In states, killed 70,000 people. 1968, it came back again. This time it's called Hong Kong flu. It's caused by H5N1 virus. In states, you kill 34,000. The bird flu attack our human being in a different way. It's sudden attack without any warning, and also erupt in such a dramatic way. Huge amount of victims. A lot of people die at the same time, and also it spreads very, very fast. Let's see what happened in 1918, the spread of the Spanish virus. That's the picture of 1918, September 22nd. We can see from the chart, it's only on the East Coast, Massachusetts, New Jersey, the place that got virus report. 1 week later, we can see it goes to the Midwest, southern part, and some of the place in West Coast. Another week, 70% of the states has virus infection. 1 week later, 100%. So it spreads very, very fast. And also it spreads from states go all over the world. The victims that suffer from the bird flu, they got some same symptoms as the ordinary flu. Like they got some high fever, 105 Fahrenheit degree, got headache, sore throat, muscle pain, coughing. But bird flu patient, it suffers totally different. I'm so sorry, I don't have a pointer. I will give some basic anatomy of the human's respiratory system. The air get in from your nose, go to the trachea, and go to the bronchus, and then go to the small, you can see the small flowers, that's called air sac. That's the basic place to change the air. Oxygen get into your body, and carbon dioxide get out of the body. When the bird flu attacks, they attack the trachea, they cause people coughing. Every people cough. Okay, I just hear some people cough. But bird flu people, when they cough, they not just cough. They not just cough mucus, they cough blood. The blood is not like 1 or 2 sips. It's like 1 pint of the blood the people can cough a day. And the cough is so violent. It's not just ordinary cough, your chest pain. It's so violent, you'll break your ribs. And the air escape out of, because the coughing, they can break the membrane which around your lungs, so the air can get under your skin. So when you touch patient's skin, it's like you touch the rubber wrap or like touch the snow. And when the blood fill in the air sac, people got the problem of the change of the air. So the lack of oxygen, their face, the skin turn blue. And sometimes they say even you cannot tell the original skin color of the patient is a white or a black. They all turn blue. And with the more blood filling out with the air sac, eventually patient die. They die in their own blood. They drunk in their own blood. This is the normal lung. You can see it's pink color. When you touch them, it's soft. When you put them into the water, it float into the water. What is this? This is a lung of a Spanish flu victim. The color all turned black because they full of the blood. And when you touch them, it's not like touch a sponge. It's like touch a rock. Very, very strong. And also when you put it into the water, it won't flow into the water. It sinks. And then let's see under the microscope. From the top one, you can see that's the epithelial cells of the trachea. It looks like a very healthy Amazon rainforest. And then look at the lower one. That is 72 hours later when they are attacked by the bird flu. From Amazon rainforest become a desert in Sahara. The patient not just suffer from the problem of the lungs. Sure, lungs is the first organ that attack, and they got multiple organ damage. They got brain damage, cause encephalitis. They got heart problem. They cause irregular heartbeat, and then got heart failure, and then they got kidney failure. The bird flu attack people cause the death. The death is different from the ordinary like flu. For example, they cause people overnight death. There's a story in the States, I think it's Philadelphia. There's 4 ladies, they play bridge for years and years. One night they play bridge together and they make appointment tomorrow, same time, come here, play bridges again. And the next day came, only 1 lady showed up. The another 3 ladies, they're not just sick, they die. They die overnight. There's another true story in the South Africa in the town called Cape Town. There's a small train station which run a train about 5 miles long, not very far away. One day on the flu season, when the conductor gave the signal, let the train go, and he just dropped dead on the platform in front of hundreds of passengers. When the train keep on going, and every about half miles, the train have to stop. Why? Because they got passengers dying in the train. They have to start the train and dump the dead body out of the train. About half mile, when they reach the destination, the train stops again. Why? This time, it's not the passenger dying. The engineer, he drove the train, died behind the wheel. So the scared passengers, they just jump out of the train and run away. So in the flu season, the hospital is not a beautiful picture. They run out of the beds. And the nurse, which they take care of the patient, they turn down $100 bill for bride to get a bed because there's no bed available. And we must remember $100 in 1918 is a lot of money. The hospital run out of the bed and also hospital run out of the hands. Doctors, nurses, they are overwhelming. They just cannot handle all this. And nurses, sometimes they got kidnapped by the patient's family to take care of the patients. In the hospital, and the dead body was piling out in the morgue. And then they fill up with the morgue, have no place to go. They go put them into the hallway, put in the driveway, wherever there's a space available. From these people, we can see the dead body. And if people has no place to go, they cannot go to the hospital, they just stay home and die at home. Family members, either they're too sick to take care of the dead body or move the dead body away. They just let the dead body stay in the closet, in the patio. A wife might stay with a dead husband for several days. And priests, they got new job to do. They drove a horse wagon, house by house to pick up the dead bodies. But they are overwhelming too. So what they do is sometimes they have a dead body exchange. They will go to a house, their body is like 7 or 10 days old. It's very smelly. And then exchange for their body is like only 1 or 2 days old. They call them new dead body. In Philadelphia, the bird flu attacked the business with the economy very, very bad. But only one business booming is the funeral business. From the picture, you can see the hair diggers are taking the coffins everywhere, going to bury them. At the beginning, they run out of coffin. They don't have any coffin. And then they run out of the grave. And finally, they run out of hands because these undertakers, either they are too sick by themselves or they refuse to take care of the victims. So Philadelphia think about to hire the prisoners to dig the grave, and they change their mind. You know why? Because they don't have the healthy security guard to watch these prisoners. So finally, they came out from idea is get the skin shepherd to dig the huge, you can see from the chart, huge graveyard to bury the dead bodies. This is a chart from 1918, is the old one. This shows the death rate and the age. From the vertical is the death rate from 0% to 30%. From the horizontal, we can see is the age group. The first bar is from like 9 years old and then going to 10 to 19 years old, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, and then going to the old to 70 years old. From the chart, we can see that very clearly. The death in bird flu is different from the ordinary flu. Ordinary flu, they kill the youngest and the oldest one because for the low immunity. But bird flu, you kill the strongest one, the healthiest one, which is between age 20 to 40. This poor little girl is an orphan. In New York City, just after this bird flu, there are 21,000 new orphans. 21,000. And this doesn't count the one only lost one parent. Now, let me give a quiz. Which one is the most deadly plague in human history? Is the Middle Age, Black Death? Is the World War I, AIDS, or Spanish flu? That's the picture of the Black Death. Okay, it's caused by a bubonic bacteria, kill thousands, millions of people. They wipe out about 30% of the population worldwide in the Middle Ages. But 1 year bird flu kill more people than 100 years Black Deaths. World War I kill millions of the soldiers and civilians. But 1 year of the bird flu kill more people than 4 years World War I. AIDS kill 13 million people worldwide. But 24 weeks of the bird flu kill more people than 24 weeks. SARS, 2 years ago, killed a lot of people in Asia, Australia, and Canada. But bird flu's virus toxicity is 5 times higher than SARS virus. Even though you survive the bird flu, you still have a lot of consequences. 80% of the survivors, they lost about 50% of their body weight. They took a long time to recover. Usually flu will take about 1 week total recover. Bird flu sometimes takes 6 months. And also, even though they recover, they still have the permanent internal organ damages. Bird flu wipe out about 50 to 100 million of the population, and then it disappeared just suddenly, quiet, and without any trace evidence. Scientists cannot find out any left tissue and left their bodies, but just leave a lot of unknown questions. So what's the cause of the Spanish flu? What makes it so deadly? And do you think Spanish flu will come back again? Let's answer the first question. What caused the Spanish flu? The answer came from the 77 frozen victims in Alaska. In Alaska, there's a place called Nome. It's very close to Russia. In there, in a small village, 80 Eskimos. When the bird flu comes, 77 of these Eskimos die in 3 days. So that their body, it was frozen in there. So scientists 2 years ago get a chance, go there to dig out the dead body, get the lung tissue, and they find out it's caused by virus.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what made the bird flu so deadly, the nature of the bird flu virus? It's really a very pretty bug. Milan just loves the beauty of this thing, but it's very, very lethal, very deadly. It's like some of these snakes. They're very beautiful, but you don't want to get bitten by them, right? It's a very tiny virus. We're talking about 0.01 to 0.12 micrometers or microns, and it's like 1,000 times smaller than a point of a pin. Visible only under the electron microscope. It mutates very rapidly. The Spanish flu virus mutated 3 times, killed 3% of the victims that it infected with very primitive treatment. And the H5N1, the current bird flu today, is already killing 52% of its victims despite heroic and very, very sophisticated treatment. So it's a very scary bug. It's mutated already 250 times, which makes it very dangerous. It's expected to merge with either a human or swine flu virus, and that's what's going to make it even more dangerous. It's a murderer. It's not a nice bug. The mutated and blended virus is expected to be a vicious, vicious bug, killing 52%. 1918 virus looks very similar to the human virus and the avian virus, but when you mix them together, the human and the avian virus is going to be just like the Spanish flu virus. And this is kind of just a picture of what it looks like. These things get together, and it's like mixing a cake, and it's very, very dangerous when it comes out of the pot. Here's a human cell. You can see the sort of green-colored nucleus, and the little hexagons outside are the actual viruses. Here's a picture showing the virus inside the nuclei. It hijacks your cells using your DNA and RNA to replicate and duplicate. And then when it's got all its daughter cells, it ruptures your cell, and the virus multiplies very rapidly. 1,000 to 10,000 new virus particles, daughter virus particles, per cell in your body every 10 hours. It survives 3 months in bird droppings. It's tough. It survives 2 days on a clean surface, just like a countertop in a public bathroom. It'll survive 2 days in there. It survives hours, up to 1 day, just floating around in the air. Now, you can dodge the big pieces, right? But all those little bitty guys floating around is pretty ugly. So when you hear somebody sneeze, you want to run. For you engineers, you'll appreciate this. Large droplets are about, the size of your index fingernail. And you just see this rope going through the air, and you can dodge it. But the tiny ones, again, are just like 1,000 times smaller than the point of a pin, so it remains floating in the air. The large ones are not suspended in the air. You can see them on your hands, your napkins. I love it when people sneeze in their hands, they go. The big chunks only travel 3 to 6 feet, and the little ones are floating in the air forever. Infection risk from the large ones is very small because you can dodge them and you can see them. The little ones floating in the air are the big trouble. Could the Spanish flu return? Yeah, it's just a matter of mixing this H5N1 bird flu with a swine flu or a human flu. It can come back. It came back in 68 and 79 on a small scale. We were lucky because people from 1918 were still alive. They had immunity to it. Well, guess what? Most of those people are gone. And not many people have immunity to it. We're more vulnerable today. We have 6 billion or more people on Earth today. Back then, we only had 1.8 billion. So the congestion, the number of people per square meter is up. Air travel increases the rate of viral spread. There wasn't big airlines back then. More immune-compromised population. They're on drugs. They're minerally deficient. More aged population. H5N1 is more deadly than the 1918 strain. We talked about that. 1918 Spanish flu bird virus with 3% mortality. The current one, H5N1, is deadly. 52% die. Can we rely on vaccine? How many of you are going to wait for the government to come out with Tamiflu or a vaccine? Well, remember Katrina. Okay, the present vaccine for 2004 strain, the flu virus mutates like hours and hours. It mutates, changes again, so they can't keep up with a new vaccine. It's just impossible. Even if we had a perfect vaccine, could the government distribute it? Well, good luck there. Think of Katrina. Okay, we must count on ourselves. We must take the 90 essential nutrients every day, support our immune system. That means you have to have at least a 3-month to a 6-month supply. We have a lot of people in this room who have a 2-year supply. Antibacterial soap, antioxidants, selenium, green tea, the phytonutrients. These things are going to support your immune system. You must depend on your own immune system. Oils, you see, Milan and I wear these little things. When I go on airplanes, I kind of feel like the Pope. I'm going up and down the aisle of the airplane, putting, either tea tree oil or eucalyptus all over everybody, and they kind of like that. They think it kind of rejuvenates them a little bit, but it's protecting me. Colloidal silver. We have a wonderful array of things to help us. Even the ancient Egyptians used to use oils. That was their antibiotics. 4, 5, 8,000 BC. They preserved bodies for 3,000 to 5,000 years with these oils, essential oils, because they kill viruses, bacteria, fungus, and yeast. Nothing will grow in the body, so it just doesn't decompose. There's a clue, right? We had a great sermon this morning by Pastor Joe. And what were the gifts that the wise men brought the baby Jesus, the Christ child? Did they bring him all pearls and diamonds? And no, one brought gold, but the other two brought frankincense and myrrh. Did you ever think of the significance of that? Jesus was not born in a beautiful place. I mean, this is an artist rendition of where Jesus was born. He was born in a barn, B-A-R-N, full of animal manure and smells and urine and flies and fleas and mosquitoes. And they knew he had to survive to complete his job, which is to die and get resurrected, right? He couldn't die as a child, even though the mortality rate for children at that time was extremely high in a house, let alone being born in a barn. And so if it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me, okay? And then when Christ died on the cross, they anointed his body with these essential oils. It says it right in the Bible, you know? They anointed his body. Why? To preserve his body. And only God really knew what was going to happen. And let me tell you, he faked everybody out, didn't he? Perfume makers were the only ones who did not die during the great plagues and pandemics of smallpox and the bubonic plague during the 13th and 16th centuries, were wiped out, as Milan said, 30 to 50% of the world population. Perfume makers never died during the plagues. And the grave robbers watched that and they said, you know, perfume makers don't die because they're getting the aromatic oils out of the flowers and the leaves and the bark and the roots of these plants. They didn't know the chemistry of it, but they knew that perfume makers didn't die during the plagues. Doctors all died during the plagues back in those days because in their brilliance, they thought that the plague was due to a misalignment of the planets, and they're out there firing off firecrackers hoping to realign the planets. And so the grave robbers said, whoop, the doctors are dying, so we're not going to throw firecrackers around. We're going to do what those perfume makers do. We're going to smear ourselves with these aromatic oils, frankincense and myrrh and rose perfumes and rose water and so forth. Put little bits of cloth soaked in these things up their nose and masks soaked in these things, their exposed skin. And they could get in the graves with these decomposing bodies and take the jewelry and take the clothes and take the shoes and the boots and not get sick. And the doctors out there throwing around firecrackers trying to realign the planets, of course, died. In the squares of the city, they knew that burning aromatic trees like pine and fir and spruce and cedar, that the oils and the smoke coming out of those aromatic trees would, whatever, they didn't know exactly why, but it would protect them. People wore these little things around their neck with garlic and onion and other aromatic herbs, asafoetida herb the old slaves used to use during the 16 and 1700s. Hung aromatic plants in the windows of the doors. Hung big sprigs of garlic and things in the doors. And some people are still alive in here where their parents made them do that. This is just kind of an artist rendition of burning these aromatic trees and leaves and bark and things in the city squares. You could go for a place that smelled good and was clean. We apologize for not having one on the viruses. We looked real hard, but we know that as far as antibiotics, cinnamon and oregano are actually as protective against bacteria, both the Escherichia coli, which is a colon bacteria, and the staph, which is a skin bacteria, as ampicillin. Actually beats penicillin alone. So cinnamon and oregano, a lot of tests have been done on them. Great function. Antiviral essential oils are legendary, of course. Cinnamon bark, clove, eucalyptus, which I always carry with me, and tea tree oil, garlic, lavender, lemon, oregano, tea tree, thyme. There's many others. You can, again, read in the book, A Passport to Aromatherapy. These are things you need to have on hand in your larder where you're keeping all your canned meats and your canned fish and your canned vegetables and water. Don't wait for the government to deliver water, okay? Essential oils stimulate the immune system. We know that. It stimulates the pituitary to help support your immune system. Secretes neurotransmitters, which again supports the immune system. Endorphins, which keeps you from getting stressed out. Support the endocrine immune system. Personal hygiene is a basic weapon. You want to wash your hands before you go to the bathroom and after you go to the bathroom. Okay? Well, if you think you're handling yourself when you're going to the bathroom, so when you've been shaking hands and holding handrails and doorknobs, you want to wash your hands before you go to the bathroom, right? Avoid public places. No touch technique. Milan loves the no touch technique. Boy, she eats hamburgers with a fork. Wash hands frequently and effectively. Wash before eating, drinking, touching. Do not touch your eyes, your nose, your mouth, which we all kind of do unconsciously. If you do it in your waking hours, you're going to do it when you sleep. And so you want to get in the habit of not touching your face. Don't hold the handrails. Don't hold the rails on steps and moving sidewalks and things like that. Wash after shaking hands. Believe me, after shaking all of your hands, I love you dearly, but before I eat, I always go wash my hands, right? Touching common surfaces, sneezing, using toilets. Avoid crowded public places. Cover your nose and mouth. You might even want to use what we call the N95 or N100 mask. You can get them from any Home Depot. They come in tubes of 25 or 30. They're very cheap. I carry them on the airplane with me, on my little bag I carry on my back. and people are coughing and sneezing on the airplane, I put some of my eucalyptus oil in my mask. I open up the bottle. I set it on my little tray table. And if they're coughing and sneezing bad, I'll go up and down the aisles and squirt them. Don't touch doorknobs without paper towels or facial tissues, elevator buttons, handrails, pens at the bank where you're signing for credit cards and things, restaurants, vending machines, payphones. Use wrappers. Don't throw the wrapper away and then use your hands to eat a hamburger or pick up French fries, God forbid. You want to use that wrapper and not touch it with your hands. Save yourself. Don't shut your eyes, nose, face, and mouth. Knowledge is power. The God Bless America book talks about these viruses attacking us from a biological warfare standpoint, but it doesn't matter. If the virus is delivered by a terrorist or a migratory bird, it doesn't matter. And so what to do and all the details of how to get your house in order to prevent these things from killing you and your loved ones, your neighbors, and your church mates and workmates is in the book God Bless America. Passport to Aromatherapy teaches you how to use these aromatherapy oils, diffusers, and you want to use things that don't require power because the guys working in the power stations might not be able to go to work or won't want to go to work. You do not want to become a statistic. You do not want your kids to become orphans, and so you're going to have to be proactive. You must prepare for the battle. Our enemy is the most deadly virus in history. H5N1 kills 52% of the victims with the most modern treatments. 90 essential nutrients, essential oils, antioxidants, immune boosters, the books, of course, God Bless America, Passport to Aromatherapy. These things are going to get you through. Don't forget to put the Bible in there, right? You want to have that in there. Doesn't hurt to pray 4 or 5 times a day. Food and water storage. There's canned salmon. There's canned tuna. There's canned sardines. There's canned beef. There's canned vegetables. There's canned fruit without sugar, canned in water. You want to be starting to do this kind of stuff. Accumulate these things. Remember, you have many people in your household. You may have neighbors and church mates and family at the other end of town, and they're not going to do everything right. And so somebody in the family's got to do it. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Our goal, of course, is for all of America to be healthy. Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll thank you on behalf of Milan as well as myself.
Hey, all you Dr. Wallach supporters and longevity fans out there. Most of you at some point will have come up against this Nutra-Smart bashing of Dr. Wallach. There are a few articles that are published specifically to tarnish Dr. Wallach and his message. And I have actually written this whole book. This was a few years ago. I wrote a full-length book in rebuttal to these vicious attacks on Dr. Wallach. I believe every objection that you are going to encounter in the field is addressed in this book. It's absolutely a great resource for you to have as a distributor. And if you do ever have anybody coming up to you saying, I heard what you said about Dr. Wallach and I was going to look into some of his vitamins, but I came up against this article on the internet, Nutra-Smart article is probably the one they read. So it's a great deal, guys. I put it up very cheap. It's just another tool in our toolbox. And the Amazon link is in the description of this video. Make sure to check out our food YouTube channel called Notus Foods. This is 100% Dr. Wallach approved. And the chef that is preparing the food here and teaching you how to follow Dr. Wallach's food guidelines and Dr. Glidden's food guidelines. He's an industry professional, over 22 years experience and a college diploma to back it up. And we do have experienced cooks and bakers as well, working on content for the YouTube channel Notus Foods and the Instagram channel Notus Foods. It's 100% gluten-free, oil-free, all the stuff about burning fats and all of the rules that you would need to know or follow. We're here to teach it to you here, as well as give you tons of ideas for recipes, individual dishes, and meals. Of course, in the near future, we do have a cookbook coming out. Stay tuned for it.